You are listening to Season 4 of Black Girl Missing, a true crime podcast covering stories of missing black girls under the age of 18. When black girls go missing, their cases are severely underreported in mainstream media. Join us as we dig deeper, ask questions, and provide unconsidered context. Due to the sensitive and sometimes graphic nature of these cases, we advise you to please use caution when listening.
Wow. Welcome. Welcome. It is season 4 of Black Girl Missing. Did you miss us? My name is Hey, it's Feminista Jones. I'm here with
Asa.
And Nikki.
Hey.
We back in this thing.
So already at the top of the season, the shenanigans have begun. You know, Black Girl Missing has taken over the world. I'm just going to be honest. I think we need to be honest with the people. The folks love it. They love the show. It's been amazing. We have had a collaboration with Lifetime AE Networks. We have appeared in a documentary, which is now on Tubi.
Shout out to
called When Black
Alexis.
Women Go Missing. We have shout out to Alexis. We have been featured in articles. We were at a conference. Like,
just laying it out.
Black Girl Missing to the
Wow.
Wow, remember that, right? Things have been happening, and I'm saying this so that the listeners can understand that we've been doing the work, right? It's not that we don't want to tell you stories. We've been out there doing the work of trying to raise awareness about missing black girls and missing black women, right? But it's season 4. And I just want to check in with my sisters. Nikki, how you been?
Girl, woo. Life is doing a thing. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Okay. We did take a really long hiatus because, you know, life was doing the thing. You were off getting a PhD.
Right.
Myself and Asa were, you know, just kind of going through the motions. Life is what it is.
But also holding the brand down because, again,
yep,
you all were talking to interviewers, going to conferences and doing all these things and representing the work, right?
It's very exciting. It's rewarding. Yeah. It's kind of difficult though, because you know, you have people who ask questions about like the integrity of the work, right? We are not like other shows, but we don't have to say that for that to be true. We just focus on what we got going on. That's so, right. You know, while you were doing your studies, we were still making sure that we were tapped in. Yep. And I'm just glad that I continue to do this with y'all because I love you both so very much. And I'm still floored that so many podcasts are hosted by people who don't know each other.
People that don't like each other.
That is
and
that don't like each other. Right?
I don't get that. And like somebody was like, "Oh, like the ladies that you do your podcast with, where you meet them?" And I'm like, "Those are my friends." And they were like, "But like y'all met doing a podcast?" No. I don't want to sit around talking about anything with people I don't know. They're like, "Oh, so y'all are friends in real life?" And I'm like,
people. Yeah. I thought that's what people did, but apparently not. You know.
Well, Asa, how you been?
I'm good now. I feel like I'm on the other side of something. And I feel like things are looking up.
I know that's right. You're sitting there with your nice house robe, your chicken frying robe, season. And listen, we're getting comfortable here. Listen, we haven't changed, y'all. We are the same team behind Black Girl Missing. But you know, I you know, on a more serious note, we do want you to check out this stuff. I mean, if you go to Tubi, And if you look up When Black Women Go Missing, we are featured in that documentary. It's such an important one. It's not just about us. It's a really great documentary, and we were so happy to be featured in that. We did do a collaboration with Lifetime A&E Networks because there was a movie called Black Girl Missing. It's actually a series, Black Girl Missing, and then there's the HBCU version, Missing at a HBCU. But we had to kind of lean in a little bit and say, hey, we had that. We just tap them. I'm gonna hold your hands when I say this, but we had this first, right? And so because of that, we were able to collaborate with them and just kind of making sure that we don't lose sight of what's important. So for season 4, we're really going to be digging into some stories, and we're really going to we're going to switch some things up a little bit. We're going to try to give you some series. We're going to kind of get to the root of some, look at some of the root causes of these things. We're going to look at, the child welfare system. We're going to look at policing around these issues. We're really going to tap into some of those things. And we're still going to bring you the stories of Black girls that have gone missing. So we're glad that you're back listening with us. We love our family. We love the support we've gotten. Maybe we need to start reading some of our 5-star reviews. Maybe let people know that we got a lot of support. I don't know what y'all think.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right, so let's tap in today. Let's jump into this. We have got a story today. As you all know, if you've been listening to the show, we don't just do recent cases. A lot of times we tap into cold cases. And this particular case takes us back to the 1970s. This is before even I was born. You got to remember, and I want to set the stage for this. There was a conversation online the other day about why we don't see as many serial killers anymore. And, there's been a lot of advances with technology and being able to, all the surveillance we have, right? There's cameras everywhere and things like that. But also in the 1970s, a lot of bad stuff was going on because we trusted each other more. We believed in the good of people, right? We didn't feel like we had to lock our doors like that. We didn't have to wear seatbelts all the time. There was just certain things that we didn't expect. And it was very much a ripe time for these kinds of predators to be able to do what they got to do. But over time, DNA evidence, surveillance, all those things kind of curbed that. So if we go back to this time, especially the late 70s, and now we're talking after the Black Power movement, after the Civil Rights movement, there's a lot of resentment towards Black people, right, in the United States. And so whenever we find these kinds of cases that are in the late 70s, there's always that part of me that's like, yeah, they didn't really care what was going on with us. All right. So this case kind of brings back some of that for me. All right. So here we go. On July 20th, 1977, the Matory-Williams home went up in flames. Inside, a woman named Earlene Williams lay lifeless on the floor. She was living in Compton, California, home with her 3 daughters, Ivy Matory, age 12, Violet Matory, age 9, and Yolanda Williams, age 7. She'd been estranged from her husband James for some time, but the night before the fire, a family friend's child, Sir Christopher Marshall, who was age 3, came to stay with them. When firefighters found Earlene, her body was right by the front door, and it was later reported that she'd been strangled. None of the 4 children were anywhere to be found. When Earlene met James Williams, she was a mother of 2 girls, Ivy and Violet. Together, they had Yolanda. And at the time of the fire, Earlene and James were estranged because Ivy accused James of sexually abusing her in 1976. He was later charged with molestation and rape of Ivy. Earlene seemed to prioritize her daughter's needs and happiness, thankfully, and that was a good sign. We don't know much about the eldest daughter's father or the fathers, but she didn't seem like the type to just accept any old kind of treatment from a man. So Ivy was the oldest. She has black hair, brown eyes. We don't have much information about her height and weight at the time. Violet was 5 feet tall and 115 pounds. Her nickname, or her middle name perhaps, was Bobby. She had black hair and brown eyes. Yolanda was 4 feet, 55 pounds, and she also had black hair and brown eyes, and brown skin like her sisters. Sir Christopher was biracial, with curly brown hair, with reddish tints. He had some scarring on his back and his feet. He was 3 feet and 35 pounds. They called him turkey legs, so he might have been chubby or a little bit of a wobbler. And you all know what that's like when you see them little toddlers just kind of walking around, the diaper hanging a little bit, So they found out that the fire was set in the girls' bedroom, but there was no sign of them being there, no bodies or anything, so they were assumed to be abducted or missing. They also found a trail of blood leading out of the back door and into a nearby alley. This concerned police because it suggested maybe someone was hurt and bleeding. They tried to follow the trail, but it stopped abruptly. They decided it was likely because whoever left had a car waiting or got into a vehicle. The next day, July 21st, someone reported seeing James Williams and the children at a Denny's restaurant in Grapevine at approximately 5:30 a.m. James was picked up by friends in Riverside later that day, but did not have the children with him, and he didn't have a vehicle. He was questioned and released at first, and he was said to have told authorities at the time of the fire that he was on his way to Bakersfield before running into car trouble. Williams claims that he spent the night sleeping in his vehicle, but investigators questioned the validity of his story, especially after they saw that he had injuries to his hands. Williams reportedly explained them away by saying he hurt himself while fixing his car. When the autopsy of Arlene revealed a homicide, James was arrested for her murder. Still, no sign of the children anywhere. Because he maintained his innocence throughout his trials, and there were 2 of them that resulted in deadlocked juries, and right before the third, the charges were dismissed, he never revealed where the children were or, if he killed them, where their remains were. Investigators reportedly stated that the 3 sisters were scheduled to testify against Williams in his child molestation case, and they were all slated to appear in court the day after they went missing. This sounds to me like a rage-killing / family annihilator situation, right?
Yep.
He was afraid of going to jail, so he kills his wife and the girls and dumps their bodies. The little boy was caught up at the worst possible situation at the worst possible time. In 2014, the remains of Ivy Matory were found just an hour away from where the family lived. Now, remember, this was 1977.
Oh,
okay? Her remains were those of an adolescent, so it's safe to assume she was likely dumped in the area after being killed. They finally identified her in 2019, 5 years after finding the bones. It likely took that long due to lack of certain technology in the late 1970s, but also the deprioritization of Black missing kids. I wonder if he started the fire in the bedroom while the girls were asleep, hoping they die in it, and maybe they escaped and he went after them. There was a trail of blood, so someone was injured somehow. But to juggle 4 children, one of whom accused him of sexual assault, I'm trying to figure out how he made that happen willingly. He refused to give up any information on the kids, so aside from them finding Ivy's remains, we don't have much to go on. I wasn't able to find out much, and if they checked the area and see where the children were or not, the other children were never found. And as young as there were, it's possible that they have entirely new names and identities and don't even know they were kidnapped. So that's the story of the Matory-Williams kids.
When you said it would be hard to get them to go willingly, and there's 4 kids, I feel like somebody else had to help him.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that. I was like, did he have an accomplice? Because him and Arlene were estranged.
Right.
So it's possible he had a girlfriend, or maybe he got one of his friends, because people had seen that. Now, people reported seeing him, though, with the kids at a Denny's. So that alone is like, all right, he took them. But it's also possible that he didn't necessarily have to force them. Like, they knew him, right? And I don't know, it's weird with kids. So I'm not sure, but the fact that
Yeah,
they went missing right before they were supposed to
that
testify
was.
against him, that whole, but also he took them to Denny's to feed them.
So I'm also curious about when we start to dig into some of these cases, there's always a lot of very important yet seemingly
Mm-hmm.
minute details that are missing.
Mhm.
Like for
Mhm.
instance, the having friends pick him up
Mm.
in
Mhm.
Riverside. What happened?
Mhm.
Who were these friends? What happened to them?
Right. Right. Who were these
Yeah.
friends,
Who
and
was that?
like how far yeah.
How did he reach out to them? Like how did
Right.
he get a hold
Right.
of them?
They didn't
Where did
have a cell phone.
where were they
Mm-hmm.
coming from? Where were they going?
Mm.
And
Right.
where did they end up after
Mm.
all of this was over?
Was there
Right.
any information of like the exact area they found her remains? And like, I know it said it was about an hour away, but was it in the woods? Was it in like a
No.
deserted area?
Yeah, so
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Right.
no, there wasn't a whole lot of that information. So like I was trying to find all of that, and maybe if somebody's
Yeah.
listening, if they have a little bit more information, we're always happy to update our pages and our information and stuff. But the thing is that they had found these bones. They said it was dumped in an
Yeah.
area.
Right.
So when I hear that, I think woods, I think
Looking.
alley, I think whatever, somebody would have found it. But right. But these were also remember these were adolescent bones.
Right.
So they may have not even found a whole skeleton. We don't know. But also it took them 5 years to be able to identify it. Right. And so that's also interesting to me because with cold cases and things like that, they had to have preserved some DNA from the girls and from the baby, Sir Christopher. So I'm wondering if they were like trying to do some DNA testing,
Mm.
or if the case had been lost for a while and nobody was really thinking about it. I don't know, but they did find that, and we don't really have much information related to that. All that we know is that the others were not found. And so if you think about it, right, Sir Christopher was 3 years old, and Ivy was the oldest, and she was 12. Violet was only 9. Yolanda was 7. I mean, if you think about the impact of trauma,
True. True.
it is very reasonable that they may have blocked some of this out, like you just or ended up with people and just never wanted to talk about it again. Like there's so much that could have happened. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, go ahead.
I will say it's, even though Earlene, you know, was murdered, it's still um a relief to hear about a mother
Absolutely.
taking
Mm-hmm.
her daughter's side against
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
her husband or lover or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot when it comes to that, because so many of the stories we hear, it's
And
the mother didn't believe, the
Mm-hmm.
mother
yeah.
blamed the daughter.
Yeah.
So I think that's something
Yeah. Yeah.
to point out,
Yeah.
like she was doing the right thing.
Another thing that like jumps out at me is the details about Ivy and Violet not being
Mm-hmm.
James's
Mm-hmm.
children.
Mm-hmm.
It's when a man is looking to prey on someone close to them who is not their child, they are more willing to do
Mm-hmm.
that because it's not their kid. They don't have the same
Mm-hmm.
emotional investment in
Mm-hmm.
that child. And then we also
Right.
know that aside from these being black children, we know that the prosecution generally doesn't pick up
Mm-hmm.
sexual assault cases that they don't
Yeah.
think they can win. So the fact that
Mm-hmm.
they were about to go to court and
Mm-hmm.
testify, there was hard ass evidence that he did something.
He'd been
Right.
indicted
Right.
already,
Yeah.
and they were estranged because again,
Yeah.
they believe this happened. I mean, he knew
Right.
he did it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, like he maintained his innocence, but also you were seen with
Yep.
these kids.
Right.
Yep.
So but he maintained his innocence, and the thing that bothers me the most is that because he was like, I didn't do this,
Mhm.
I didn't do this, whatever information he had about them kids he was going to
Yep.
keep to himself,
Right.
because if he were to admit that, then he would be admitting that he did these things. So now he's died, right? So after two deadlocked juries, which is also interesting,
Yes.
that this is a black man who is there's a deadlocked on finding, because they don't have bodies, they don't have any evidence other than Earlene. And I think it's really interesting that they were going to try him for a third time. They must have really wanted to nail this guy, that they were going to go for a third trial. And they ended up dismissing the charges. And then he died. So, rotten hell.
In your research, did you find anything that talked about what kind of work he did?
No.
Very curious.
No, it didn't.
Because I'm wondering about this like deadlocked jury. Like that's odd to me, but also a lot of times when we see that happen, the perpetrator is like former military, former cop, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it makes me, I'm curious about how they let you go.
Do we have photos of him?
No, hold on.
Because in your story it says that Sir Christopher was biracial.
So that's a family friend. So that baby, that baby was a family friend. Yeah, no, that
wasn't even.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's where I got a little confused. All right, gotcha.
No. He so that happened to be a family friend that just happened to come over. That's why I said he got kind of caught up in a unfortunate situation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And he's 3 years old. He's a little bitty baby, but they know him enough, and he probably just
Poor baby.
But yeah, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Like I said, the thing that really stands out to me is that James and the children were seen at a Denny's the next day. Okay, at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
That's early to have children up at a restaurant. We know that Denny's is 24 hours, but that's really early. Yeah. Okay. But then later that day, some so-called friends came and picked him up and the kids weren't there. So I'm like, of course, I'm thinking trafficking. I'm thinking murder. I'm thinking all he dumped them kids at some point him. Right. So he definitely killed her. Well, okay. She died. Allegedly. Right. Yes, all of them, because not Sir Christopher, but Ivy, Violet, and Yolanda were all going to testify that they were either aware or they had witnessed it. Again, these are children, just corroborating Ivy's story. Ivy's 12. She's old enough to kind of handle that by herself. So her body was found and the others were not. And so what I was wondering is, like, Yolanda's his child, his biological child. Yeah. What did he do with her? You know what I mean? So you've got Violet, who is Earlene's child. You've got Yolanda, who is his child, and then Sir Christopher is just a friend, a friend of the family. Ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
But when you have a family annihilator, they do not care about anybody. Right. They will kill their own children. They will kill your children. They will kill themselves. Right. Like, it literally does not care. They literally doesn't matter what's going on. They will kill everybody in their path. And I think it's very interesting that the more we are starting to see media experts and mental health experts talk about family annihilators and how it's really just like an epidemic at this point.
Listen, the patriarchy is out of control.
It is wild. Out of control. It needs a leash. It needs a muzzle. And when you are looking at these different men who are committing like family annihilations, it's like nobody is safe.
I'm interested.
They really don't care.
Let me see the distance from Riverside. So Riverside to Compton is 1 hour and 22 minutes by car. And but they found Ivy's body in a place called Corona. And they said Corona is about 1 hour east of Compton. So let's see, Corona to Compton is 1 hour and no. So Compton is closer to the West Coast. You go 1 hour east, it's Corona where she's finding it, and then Riverside is 20 minutes to the east. So
that's what I'm saying.
So it's so maybe she was dumped on the way.
Okay. I see what
He
you're
had some
saying.
connection in
Oh,
Riverside. I don't
Yeah.
know, but he got out of Dodge. Basically, he got the hell out of Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But it does sound like a family annihilator situation. But what's interesting about the family annihilators is that it's usually because of financial reasons
That,
or
mm,
divorce,
Yeah.
right? And so in this
Yeah.
case, you do have a woman who is estranged from him because she's like, you were touching my daughter. We're not doing this.
We're done.
And so
Yeah.
that is like her leaving him. And so family annihilators
Right.
do tend to want to take out the whole family because, oh, you're going to leave me? You're not going to leave me.
mhm.
You're not going to be happy without me. None of you will, right? But then there's also, a lot of times it's because of financial debt. I can't afford you, so I'm just going to kill you. Which,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah. Which is it's very unhinged.
Like
It's very
it's
unhinged.
so, but the
Yeah.
patriarchy is
I
unhinged.
still feel
I do too. No, I definitely think,
I I still feel
right.
like somebody helped him. Like if he didn't have a car, how are you dumping bodies?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
when we're bringing up the whole like family annihilator thing, it's now he needs
Valentine.
to
Mhm.
Yeah.
silence all of these people because they all know something. And Sir Christopher, like that
Right.
baby was just in the way. Just wrong place, wrong time. You're just
Mhm.
and it's a liability because he's a baby. So got to get you out of the way. But I'm imagining if I have two sisters, because you got these three sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and the youngest is 7. If he's not
Mm-hmm.
harming all of
Mhm.
them, they are
Mm-hmm.
likely
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
talking to each other about it if they're close.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I know something's wrong with my
Yeah.
sister because she's
Yeah.
acting funny,
And,
or she's not herself right now, or she's
Mhm.
being really mean to me and I don't know what's up with that because there's something going on. And ain't no telling what type of arguments or fights that they may have heard, because I'm pretty sure
Right.
Earlene didn't take that just sitting down. I'm sure that there was, some sort of yeah.
no. And that's the sense I got from the reporting, is that she was like, you touched my daughter. So now when you think about it, right, so if Ivy was 12 and Yolanda was 7, Ivy was
Mhm.
5 when Yolanda was born.
Right.
They were probably together
Yeah.
a little bit, so that's stepdad, that's who
Yeah.
they know, so there's some kind of trust
Mhm.
there. But probably he maybe started around, when she was a little bit older, as she starts budding out or whatever. And she tells her mama, she's like, and then immediately she
Mhm.
like is like kicks him out the house. And
Right.
but again, let's remember, they were going to testify. That means he was indicted.
Mhm.
That means there was enough evidence or whatever to indict this man, and to have, to get to trial. We know how long that takes. So maybe he was out on bond, whatever situation is. Maybe he had friends help him, these friends from Riverside. We don't know. Like, there's a lot of like missing pieces, but the thing is, he wouldn't open his mouth. And that's the thing that really, really just bothered. I'm like, man, you're not even on your deathbed. Not even on your deathbed. You could just be like, listen, I did
It's
it.
like that's
Here's
the
where they
last
are.
gasp of
You
control.
couldn't even
It's
do
like,
that just to give some peace.
ooh.
Yeah. But that's control. Family annihilators want control.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's their story. So we know that Ivy is deceased. We don't know what
Mm-hmm.
happened with Violet, with Yolanda, or Sir Christopher. Like I said, Sir Christopher could be out there alive and well and not even
Mhm.
knowing that he was Sir Christopher, this
Yeah.
kid who was, subjected to this thing. All right, y'all. So we are back with, season 4, starting with a bang. We are going to get into these stories. We hope you stick with us. Be sure to subscribe to and follow this podcast so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Tell your friends, leave us a review.
Toodles.
The best way you can support us is by telling people about us. All right, so we'll see you next
Bye.
time. All right, y'all good?
Black Girl Missing Podcast is researched, written, and produced by 3 concerned Black women who want justice for missing Black girls. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Please remember to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite platform so that we can keep bringing you the stories of Black girls that need to be told. Visit us at blackgirlmissingpod.com for all things Black Girl Missing. Today's episode was written by Feminista Jones and produced by Nikki Irene.